This is The Mountainside, and joining us in studio for this episode is Joe Gauvain. He's an active duty chief in the United States Coast Guard, father, avid outdoorsman, and angler, backcountry hunter, and innovator in the outdoor space. As the co-founder of Drifter Hydration, changing the hydration game for those in the backcountry who like to get after it. When Joe is not serving our country in the U.S. Coast Guard, he spends an extensive amount of time in the backcountry, going on some epic hunts. It was incredible to sit down and get to know Joe for this episode. Thank you for listening and enjoy our conversation. Colorado?
Yeah.
Ross, thanks for coming up. Thanks for you guys making the trip, man. Met you guys at Western Hunt. Didn't really know too much about your product, but you stopped me in the aisle. I don't know how we bumped in, or if you were just soliciting people out of the aisle. Is that what you do?
I was just rolling, like everybody that walks through, anybody, if I catch eye contact, I'm going to try to get you.
No, and that's what you need, man, because like you walk into so many of those booths and there's almost like, you can tell the companies that have like an arrogance almost, but the companies that are actually crushing it, in my opinion, like you go over to Marsupial Gear, somebody's going to talk to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's how you sell the product or show people the amazing stuff that you've made.
Yeah.
So I knew nothing about Drifter Hydration, and it is truly, I can't wait to use one this year in the backcountry, man.
Yeah.
Like I have had so many water bladders and so many failures with a water bladder, and then the whole filtration system with the quick disconnect. So I definitely want to dive into some of that and the innovation and all that stuff with you guys. But man, you guys have one hell of a product, dude. It's freaking amazing. If you do anything in the backcountry, even if you're a mountain athlete, trail runner, whatever, you need something like this, man, that's durable, built. It's hard plastic, right? So you're not going to puncture a hole in that thing unless you have drill bits or something or fall on it really hard, I would imagine.
I don't even know about that. I mean, in our testing, I'm still rocking the original prototype run, like the production run, but the first few that we got as a prototype. And that's still mine that I have in my pack today. And I ran that over with a four-wheeler. I've over-pressurized it. I haven't got it to pop yet because my pressure gauge only goes up to 15 PSI. Which is a lot. I mean, in a rock crawler tire, you're running, anywhere from like 8 to 10 or something like that. So I mean, we've pumped up a lot of pressure in that thing, and
it's the prototype.
It was the first production run batch, technically a prototype and I'm still using that one today. Yeah,
that's so rad.
Yeah, one of these days
I want one even more.
I'm gonna hook up an air compressor to it and get a bigger gauge and figure out exactly what the failure point of the reservoir is. But with the hand pump that's on it, like you're not gonna pop it with that.
Well, that's a whole nother thing too that you guys have innovated into it, to have that hand pump.
Yeah.
There's not very many systems out there that's like that. Are you guys the only one?
There was one other, but it was a soft bladder.
Okay.
But I don't know if they're still making them or not. But we are the first rigid pressurized hydration system.
Which, if you don't know or you haven't dealt with one of these, when they're under pressure, now it turns into, you could take a shower with the thing. You could use it as to fill your little hot stove or hot pot or whatever. Yeah. There's fill a water bottle. Like, it's so rad.
Yeah. And honestly, the biggest thing that like feedback that we've got with the pressurized portion of it, and everybody's like, that's what we push hard, is like filling your cook stove, filling other bottles and stuff for all your supplements. But what guys have come back to us with is when they're huffing and puffing climbing the mountain and they don't have to suck to drink, like that's huge.
Yeah,
like
that
you don't
is
have
huge.
to stop to breathe and suck and drink and all that. It just supplies you water, on tap. So
yeah, man, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot to talk about. I know we're just getting started, and we're going to do a deep dive on Drifter Hydration and all the amazing products and the innovation. Like, I want to go down that rabbit hole. But with this being your first time on, I got to learn a little bit about you. It's my own greed. But before we start here, our sponsor, you guys are both backcountry hunters. We only give these out to serious hunters, and I've seen your Instagram page. So here's a set of Sabo Broadheads for you guys.
Sweet.
To try out.
Oh, yeah.
And they've been an awesome sponsor of ours. Totally innovated in the Broadhead space as well too. It's really cool design. I'll show you guys some more about that.
That looks like it'll open up a hole for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, heck yeah, man.
It's awesome, man. I guess let's just start. Let's go way back, man. Where were you born? We were cracking into a little bit of your story. I was like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Let's hit record
Okay.
and then we'll get after it.
So I'm originally from Northern California, about 4 hours north of San Francisco Bay Area, so up in Southern Humboldt, Northern Mendocino area. I was born in Garberville. I was one of the last babies actually delivered in that hospital. And I grew up Northern Mendocino, but I went to school in town and everything was in Southern Humboldt. And I don't know if you know a lot about that area or if you've ever been there before.
I've spent some time up there, man. It's just kind of blowing through. A lot of times is windshield time in a tour bus. Like I always loved going through Northern California and then up into BC was always like no matter how tired I was or how much sleep I had, it didn't matter. I was getting up in that jump seat.
Yeah.
You just see wildlife and stuff. And man, Northern California has a very special spot in my heart, dude. Like it's like real American people out there too. It's not like what you think of your typical California.
Yeah, it's not at all
stereotype, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like everywhere I've been in the military, they're like, "Hey, California, you miss your white sandy beaches." I'm like, "You guys, you have no idea."
Yeah.
The beaches aren't even white where I grew up. It's Shelter Cove. It's all black sands beach there, and south of there the sand will get white, and then north of there the sand will get white. But that little stretch that I grew up in, it's all volcanic sand. It's all black sand. It's pretty cool. Big cliffs. You got Kings Range there will go up to Kings Peak is like 4,000 feet right on the ocean. It's one of those areas that is really, they call it the Lost Coast, and it's because it's one of the most, if not the most remote coastline.
Didn't they film Goonies up there?
Goonies, I think, was in Oregon.
Was it? Okay. Jeremy's got it pulled up on the map here.
Okay.
Yeah, man, it's beautiful country, man. Like,
yeah, so I was born in Garberville.
Okay. How far is that from because where I've spent the most amount of time, that's pretty far, is like up around Mammoth and stuff. I used to do a motocross event up there, and I spent a ton of time because I had a ton of free time going into the backside of Yosemite and fly fishing up there in the summer was freaking awesome. But
yeah,
that's a little bit further up.
Yeah. It's way up there. There's not a whole lot going on, to be honest with you. I mean, the biggest thing that was going on up there when I grew up there was it was a huge pot industry, which was one of the big driving factors that sent me into the Coast Guard because it wasn't for me. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. I grew up off grid. My dad, like we had talked about a little bit, my dad was a deadhead. He ended up meeting my mom on the road, and he had built a bus and everything and was driving around the country. And he's paying for it a little bit now, but I think he got it out of his system, I guess, when he was in his 20s. But
that's awesome. So were you on the road with him going to dead shows and stuff?
No, by then he had found a piece of land and kind of settled down. I mean, he was going through, not to get too dark with it and not to air out his laundry, but he struggled with addiction really heavily, and my mom ended up running off with another guy, which had a whole another set of problems, and me and my brother were just along for the ride, and it got pretty dark there for a long time. But my dad was able to get clean for all the years he raised me and my brother, and I wouldn't be the man I am today without my dad getting clean, and it took a lot for him to do that and to raise me and my brother. And my parents, luckily, they knew if they didn't work it out, they both would lose us, both the boys. So they figured it out and kind of let us choose, and we lived with mom and dad, and my dad wasn't ever really a big hunter. He would kill deer because we were poor and we needed meat. So as a little kid, there'd be a deer hanging up outside, and he'd be like, "Don't tell anybody." And so as a little kid, I was like, "Oh, this is something we're like not supposed to do or something,"
Oh, really?
Yeah. And because obviously it'd be February and he'd kill a couple of does because we needed meat, and it on 80 acres in the middle of absolute nowhere. There's not even a telephone pole on that mountain, so it's not like anyone's coming up there. But it wasn't until later on that I got the bug for big game hunting. But the shooting, I mean, we had a 150-yard gun range right off our porch and everything, so shooting was no stranger to that. And then just the general outdoors knowledge, spent a lot of my time. My dad said he was a little bit worried about me because I'd sit in the woods when I was like 5 with my fake lever action, be sitting there just like watching the yard and all the animals. He's like, I figured you'd either join the military or something a lot worse. So,
How old are you?
I just turned 34.
Okay. I just turned 46, and my generation grew up on Rambo and Commando and all that sort of stuff, dude.
Yeah.
And like, so it's the same thing for us. And I grew up here, and I grew up very poor. So like, we were making stick guns, and like pine cones were grenades, and like we were playing war, dude. Like we were having a good time and just running amok, you know? So there's something special about growing up that way, though.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean, all those experiences just made me who I am today, and I've been able to draw back on a lot of those experiences, a lot of those hardships as a child and into adulthood, and a lot of things that, you know, stress is relative to a lot of people, and things that I think people get wound up and stressed out about now. I'm just like, man, you have no idea. Like, you don't know what it's like to be 4 years old and hungry, you know, like, so now it's like, well,
it's all perspective, right?
Yeah. It's no big deal. You know, me and my wife joke about it a lot because she grew up the opposite of me. She grew up in the suburbs, very stable, happy family. And, you know, just everything was easy, you know, and then later in life, things that maybe are a little more difficult for her, I'm just like, hey, like, we're good. Everything's going to be fine. Like, we've got this. Trust me. We're good. So. Yeah,
man, I think that's one of the most humbling things that for me that I really get out of the podcast is some of the people that I've had on and some of the battles that they're going through, and building friendships with those people to this day, you know, still keeping up with people that are dealing with way more than I've ever had to.
Yeah.
And I think being around that is good for you as a human, man, or growing up that way a little bit is like, my childhood definitely formed me into the man that I am today. And it wasn't easy, you know, but it was great too at the same time. Like there's a lot of life lessons in that, but perspective, man, is so huge. Like if you grow up in that suburban lifestyle, there's nothing against that. Like you can't help that. Like my kids are growing up that way.
My kids are now too.
Yeah. And it's like, oh man, we're out of cereal. We got to go to Target or wherever, right? Like to go get that. And that's easy and great. But what kind of got me back into hunting, I took a long break, was the life lessons that I learned, like the adversity that I faced. Seeing an animal bleed out in front of you is pretty gnarly. Like taking an animal's life is super gnarly. I still get emotional about that, you know, like, and just the life lessons that I had, and then really appreciating food and stuff. So from a young man, your dad hunting just to fill the freezer, man, which is why people should honestly do it, man. It's cool to have, I guess, what you would call a trophy or something. I would call them memories, because it's not like winning a soccer trophy, right? A participation award or something like that. But like, there's a memory in this skull that's sitting on this table, right? Because I know exactly where it came from. Some of this bison is still sitting in my freezer, you know, all that sort of stuff. Like, I think it's those memories and that connection to food that is so humbling, and it makes you appreciate not wasting stuff either, right? Like, we don't waste any of our deer or elk or bison. Like, even the dogs are eating good, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not feeding it all the dogs, but I'm talking about like the tendons and all that stuff. I save and freeze little dog packs, and when I'm cooking on the grill or something, I'll throw those on the little cast iron side of it. Fry them up real quick for the dog.
My dog hangs out with me because I butcher all my own. I do all the process. I always have. It's something that I take a lot of pride in, and I enjoy it. I until, you know, in Alaska and you got 6 deer that you just piled up, then it gets a little old. But you know, if you're just doing a couple here and there,
I could go for a ribeye right now. Right?
But my dog hangs out, and you know, he knows he gets a little scrap every now and again. You'll scrape the knife off and flick it down to him. You know, he's all about it.
As a kid, seeing those deer hanging there and stuff, did your dad take you with him in the killing process, or
no,
were you guys around for the butchering process or anything?
Yeah, we were around for the butchering process. Looking back on it, my dad wasn't very good at it, but you know, because he never grew up hunting. My dad grew up in Southern California and dropped out of high school and ended up in Monterey at like 15 with his older brothers, and he was on his own from a very young age, and you know, obviously I would assume he wanted to give us a better life than he had, and it was an uphill battle for him, but he managed. And but no, he never took us along for like any of the hunts. It was more of like, you know, a gun in the truck and there's a deer on the way home, a couple mile long dirt road from a very rural highway and then going up the hill. And it was probably more like there's a deer and he'd kill it and I'd come home and be hanging, you know, from school or whatever. So, yeah, that's pretty much all it was.
Awesome meat. But to take it back to even appreciating the food, like when I go on these bison experiments or whatever, my kids aren't going with me, but there's a whole butchering process that happens on the island of my kitchen. Mm-hmm. And I get the kids involved. I'm like, here, you know, your job is the butcher paper and labeling. Mm-hmm. And my daughter's like gets bored in between me cutting and is drawing little flowers. And so now I have a piece of art, right? Yep. that I get to pull out of the freezer. And like that sort of thing, I think really connects people to food, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And my boys, I think all kids are probably pretty picky eaters, but for whatever reason, and it is that connection with food. Like my boys, they love deer meat. They love deer steak. Yeah. And where I hang my deer, because I'm currently living in South Carolina right now, and so when I kill deer out there, I hang them on the swing set in the backyard. Nice. And then I'll bring them in. I've got a full butcher set up in my garage. I got you know I don't know. I really like having all my stuff all clean, and you know I got stainless tables and all that stuff. But my boys, they're in there for the whole process, and they love it. And that's seeing where it comes from, and you know being there for the process. They might be picky when it comes to a lot of things, but deer meat's not one of them.
Okay. So what was your school life like growing up up there?
I did not homeschool, although a lot of people there do. Uh-huh. So just regular elementary school. I played a little bit of sports, but it was hard because I lived so far away. Like by the time I was a freshman in high school, I was spending 3 hours a day on a school bus. First one picked up.
Damn, that's crazy.
First one picked up and the last one dropped off every day. But I did finally convince my dad to let me play football in 6th grade, and I loved it. That was my biggest passion in school, which was kind of a big hindrance, I would say, from getting into big game hunting in high school.
It's the worst.
Was A, I didn't really have a mentor. B, it's football season, and that was life for me.
Yeah, and that's hunting season, basically.
Yeah. And then I joined the Coast Guard right out of high school, right at 18. So
okay,
but
so did you play up all the way through high school then? Or? Okay.
Yeah, I played all the way into my senior year, and nice. I almost didn't get into the Coast Guard. It was 2010, and the recruiting office I was going at, they were taking like 4 people for the year or something like that. And every one of them had like college degrees and stuff. And the Marines long story short, the Marines were spending a lot of time on me. and I was entertaining it. And I was like, if I join the Marines, I was like, I'm bringing 3 buddies with me, you know, and they all flaked out. And I was like, all right, well, I guess. And I ended up telling the Marines recruiter, I was like, hey, like, no offense, man, but I'm going to go to college or something and just figure out what I'm going to do with my life first. And he's like, I respect that. And so he ended up giving my information to the Coast Guard recruiter, because the Coast Guard recruiter didn't even look at me in the eye. He's like, you join the reserves if you want. And I was like, I'm not doing that. And the Marines recruiter was the reason I got into the Coast Guard. All the work he put into me, he went and dropped it on the Coast Guard recruiter's desk. And he's like, hey, I couldn't get this guy, but I think you might want him. And yeah, he called me one day. He's like, if you can leave in a couple of weeks, I got a spot for you. I was like, done.
So is this are you still a senior in high school at this point, or is this after you graduated?
Right after I graduated.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's that journey like in the Coast Guard? I think you're the first Coast Guard guy we've had on. Cool. Sorry, Ross. Beat you to it.
Yeah. So how I landed on the Coast Guard was my neighbor actually brought home like a pamphlet or something like that. And he heard about the ASVAB, and that was enough to scare him away. And I was like, dude, give me that. So I took it, and I was planning on the Coast Guard for like a year and a half, you know. So, and then when they told me no, I was like, well, shit, now what? You know, I guess I'll go to junior college or something. I don't know. But yeah, I ended up getting a phone call from the recruiter, and I had no idea what the Coast Guard did. My only exposure to it was the 47-foot lifeboats in Noyo River, which I fished out of there a lot, and then, you know, seeing them go out of Humboldt Bay in Eureka. And then I would see the helicopters, and that's it. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know the Coast Guard had like ships and stuff. Like my recruiter didn't tell me a damn thing. He was retiring, so he didn't even care. He actually didn't even like give me any advice for boot camp. He's like, here's a list of stuff you need to bring, and that was it. And so so I showed up with a suitcase. And that's one thing you don't want to do. Everybody had backpacks and duffel bags. And I'm looking around. I got a full-on suitcase. I'm like
a roller bag, Louis Vuitton or something.
It was just a regular suitcase, but I didn't know like you just bring a duffel bag.
Right.
So I had like everything I needed in there. I've always had like this sense of preparedness. You know, that was something that developed when I was younger. And as soon as I got off the bus, it was terrible. they were like a suitcase. What do you think you're doing? Going on vacation? And it was downhill from there.
Shit.
But no, it was boot camp was I don't know. The worst part was not sleeping, and that was pretty much it. And then from there, I went to Omaha, Nebraska, which then again I had
in the Coast Guard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I went to Omaha. I was on a river tender there, doing aids to navigation on the Missouri River. Super cool, but I did work forestry for like 6 months leading up to that, dragon rush in the steep mountains of Northern California. And I was like, I can't wait to ship out and like, go do that. And then I get there and they're like, what'd you do? You got experience with a chainsaw? And I was like, yeah. They're like, perfect. Here you go. I was like, damn it. Fuck. So
never say yes, right?
Yeah. So I ended up doing that for a while. And that's the Missouri River ended up flooding really bad. It flooded for, I think, like 5 months. And we built this huge sandbag wall around the buildings and stuff. Ended up running on ship's generator for like 5 months till we were able to, water goes down. They had to fix all the buildings and stuff. And so that wasn't even like the real Coast Guard either. So I spent 6 months literally running dewatering pumps and a generator, and yeah, it was kind of interesting.
And your recruiter kind of got you good then.
Yeah. I was like, what is this?
Because I have a buddy that went in, but he got like stationed in Hawaii like right away or something. Like he had some badass contract worked out or something. I don't know how he managed that. But.
I put down, because you can like kind of request what you want to do a little bit, and I was like, I'd like to be on a small boat station, maybe in Tennessee or something. I don't know. And so they sent me to Nebraska. And it was cool though.
Nebraska, close enough.
Yeah, no, it was cool. I liked it, but I had one of the guys I worked for. He was at Tacklet South for like 9 years, and that was before they brought on the ME, the Maritime Enforcement Specialist rating, which is pretty much that's what those guys do now. But he was
is that like the Special Operations Unit of the Coast Guard, or?
No, so that's just a rating. But the tactical law enforcement teams, that is, I guess you could say, the more specialized teams.
Okay.
They deploy and they'll deploy on Navy ships and whatnot, just because we have different.
They do a lot of like shipboarding stuff, and
just because with us being under DHS, we've got a little different sets of rules, obviously, than big Navy. So they use those guys differently to gain access and do different types of boardings than the Navy can do. But so he was like, hey, you should go ME. It's a new rating. And I was like, oh, that sounds super cool. Law enforcement, that sounds cool. And so I put my name on that list, and they're like, oh, it's going to be 4 years. And I was like, well, I don't want to wait that long. So he's like, go to Bahrain. And I was like, what's that? And so I applied for Bahrain and ended up going over there, went to a 110-foot warship over there, which is tiny, by the way. It's not big at all. And so I did that for a year, and
there's yachts that are twice that size, right?
Yeah. And the boat was tiny, and they added several extra racks in there. Since it's a boat in the Middle East, they have a few different rates on there that compared to the stateside 110s. And so did that for a year, and then ended up deciding not to go the new Maritime Enforcement Specialist rate. And I was like, had some really, really good chiefs, and they were, MKs and whatnot. And I was like, well, I guess stick to what you know. With my dad being a lifelong fabricator and mechanic, I was like, I guess I'll strike MK and
so ME is law enforcement. Is that
so? They're a law enforcement specific rating.
Okay,
but most of the general law enforcement in the Coast Guard is done by essentially our boat operators and our boat mechanics. So our machinery technicians and our boatswain's mates do most of the law enforcement in the Coast Guard. And the Coast Guard has had this saying, which is "do more with less" for way too long now. It's kind of shot ourselves in the foot a little bit here and there with that, but it also has a lot of pros to it because we're not super specialized in doing just one thing. Like Coast Guard ratings, they do a lot of different things. They wear a lot of different hats. So like for me, for instance, just fast forwarding, as a machinery technician, I'm a firearms instructor, I'm a boarding officer, I'm a boat engineer, and then I've been on 3 different cutters, 3 different stations now, and so lots of different unit types, lots of different mission sets. And as a machinery technician, I can go anywhere in the Coast Guard, whereas a maritime enforcement specialist, you can go to a few stations here or there. You go to some big boats. They've got the law enforcement teams that that rating was basically designed for. So I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into these specific units. I wanted to be able to go essentially anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's why I ended up instead of going to a school for my rating, I ended up it's called striking. It's not a thing anymore, but it's essentially on the job training, where you do all of it, but you do it at your job, and then they make you a rated non-rate, as they used to put it, and then you get put on a advancement list, and then you make E4.
Nice.
So
you'd mentioned something earlier, and one of the most fascinating guests that we had on, it was one of the only virtual podcasts that we've ever done here. It was John Norris. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He was a game warden up in Northern California, and he got, I don't know, I can't remember exactly. Pull up John Norris if you wouldn't mind, so I don't screw up his book. But anyways, he was a game warden, like checking fishing licenses and hunting tags and doing game warden stuff. And the cartel stuff kind of popped off up in Northern California.
Oh, yeah.
And he started the MTE team, I think. It was like Marijuana Enforcement Team or something like that, or MET. And these dudes ended up training with like a bunch of SEALs and like a lot of special operations people that get schooled up. And they were combating, I think National Geographic did like a whole TV show series on him. And he's just got some like wild stories of these guys building punji pits and like all kinds of stuff up there. Is the Coast Guard involved with any of that law enforcement on the coast side of stuff?
Yeah. I mean, so the Coast Guard does a lot of drug interdiction, overseas. They'll do counterterrorism stuff. We used to do lots of patrols of like the oil fields and stuff like that. We would escort vessels through the Straits of Hormuz. But as far as the cartel stuff goes, yeah, the Coast Guards, they do a lot of that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So did you see a lot of that growing up as a kid? Because you had mentioned something about like you saw cartel activity and
yeah.
Really?
So just being in the woods, we've come across as kids, we came across like old grows that were all big gorilla grows that, I mean, there was tons of trash, and you could see where they had terraced out like hillsides in the mountains and had all their irrigation and stuff in there. And then later on in life, when I started hunting, you'd find them all over the place in the national forests out there. Yeah. We'd always pin them and then turn them into, the fish and wildlife. But that's actually something that I wanted to do. I was going to get out of the Coast Guard and I wanted to be a game warden. And I was like, man, I'd be really good at it. You know what I mean? Like, so I actually looked into it. That's when Ross was still in the Coast Guard, and we had talked about it because I was like, man, I think I'd be good at that. You know, growing up in that country. And, but yeah, as a kid, I would see back then, I think it was called camp. I don't remember what that cannabis something or another. I don't know what it was called, but camp is what we knew him as. And we'd see him flying over in helicopters with these giant nets of weed. They're guys dangling from long lines with M4s. And I mean, that was every late summer and every fall.
Really?
They're flying. Yeah. Helicopters flying all the time. Big trains.
Probably watching John Norris go by.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, they would fly over our house all the time. Wow. Big old nets full of weed. And, it was kind of scary because then there was people that would get their houses raided that didn't even grow pot. And it was like, the town would get shook, every fall. One of my friends, his door got kicked in and his dad was on crutches, and they like tackled him, put him like wrong house, Right. I don't know whatever came of that. We were pretty young when that happened, but, yeah, pretty pretty crazy, man. The town would get pretty shook with that when the camp would show up.
Well, it's so bad for the environment too, man, because like it's probably one of the worst things that could happen to wildlife.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because of the pesticides and the herbicides that they use and what they do to the water and then rediverting the water. Like, it's so traumatic.
The water.
What's the name of his book, Jeremy? I think it's Hidden War. Hidden War. You got to check that out, man.
Okay.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Or go and listen to the episode that we recorded.
You know what?
He's a stud.
I'm pretty sure I've seen some of his stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the water's one of the big things. That's what Fish and Wildlife was going after a lot. Is they're the steelhead up there are struggling enough as it is, and when they're taking water and diverting between all of them millions of gallons of water, they're taking that little bit of water some of those steelhead have and drying up those creek beds. Yeah,
it's horrible, man. And then we've had Ben Strawn on a few times. He's like a wildfire superintendent up there in Northern California. And he's got some crazy stories too of like shotgun shells on strings, like ready to fire when they're out like fighting fires or
I've
heard some of these fires are caused by those cartels, back in there cooking or doing something stupid.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy how far back in there they get too.
Yeah.
Just later in life, like being in my early 20s and hunting out there and some of the stuff we'd come across, they'd build giant like lofts and all sorts of crazy stuff. But it's just the amount of trash too and all that. I mean, you can only imagine when they were actually operating there, like you said, with the pesticides and all that getting pushed in the watershed.
Well, John was saying it was like 90% of the people that reported them were backcountry hunters because nobody goes that deep, right? They just stay on the hiking trails and stuff like that. So they really relied on hunters and anglers.
Well, not only that, hunting seasons during when they'd be cutting it down. So as soon as we...
So you're in there at the same time.
And we're moving quiet, we're moving slow, we're hunting. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we see a bunch of that stuff in there. We don't know if it's still active or not. So we're even more heightened now because we're like, well, are they still in here? Are these guys watching us? And luckily for us, I can't say we never came across a live one. When I was a young kid, I came across like growing plants, but that turned out to be some old hippie dude.
Right.
So it wasn't.
Shit, we used to grow weed up here in the woods.
Yeah.
But long before it was legal here,
Yeah. So fortunately that wasn't, we weren't in a super dangerous situation, but we were like, we should probably leave. And then, but
it's crazy. I ran into Cartel 2 years ago here archery hunting. And I don't know if I ran into like an arms deal and it was on a trail and it was just super odd. And I've never had to experience it, but it was scary, dude.
Yeah.
Like it's probably the scariest thing that's happened to me, like close proximity with a lot of guns and shit.
Yeah.
Like it was not cool. But yeah, Hidden War is a great book. We got to get John back on too. We got to get him in studio or go to him or something. So you transition into the Coast Guard, you get stationed, or you go into the Coast Guard, go through boot camp, you end up in Nebraska. How long are you there for?
Year and a half.
Oh, wow. And then from there, you went back to Northern California? Is that correct?
I went from Nebraska. After doing that, I applied to go overseas. So I went to Bahrain for a year. Then I ended up striking machinery technician. So now I've got my rating. So now I'm essentially, a mechanic that wears 9 different hats. And then I ended up handpicking Bodega Bay, which is in Northern California, about an hour north of the Bay Area. And so that's a surf station. So that was my first station that I went to, and that's where I ended up meeting Ross. And it was pretty funny. I guess somehow he heard that I was a steelhead fisherman. I mean, anybody that's in the outdoors that grows up in, Northern California or coastal Oregon, I feel like everybody's a steelhead fisherman, but I guess there wasn't any other steelhead fishermen at the station or any serious ones. And one of the first.
Ross, are you originally from Northern California or?
No, Southern Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's like, I heard you're a steelhead fisherman. And I was like, or he said, I heard you're a fisherman. What do you like to fish for? And I was like, mostly steelhead. He's like, I got to come shake your hand. And that was like the first interaction we ever had. And it was pretty funny and then after that, we got to talking.
The groundwork.
Yep. And it was funny after that. He's like, man, everybody's a dang bass fisherman. Don't get him started on bass fishing.
I'm not a fan of it either, man. I'm just like, it's too hot. There's too much shit going on. It's too hard.
Yeah.
Like, give me a fly rod in a creek, dude. I'm happy.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how our friendship started, was just talking about steelhead fishing, and a lot of, E4s, and I guess any military branch, they're all pretty green. And by then I had done 3 units in 3 years, which for the Coast Guard wasn't super common then, because school lists were usually 2 to 4 years. So by me volunteering to go to Bahrain and then just three units in 3 years, and I've always taken a lot of pride in what I do. And I remember we hopped on a boat. First time I was on the 47 was with Ross, and we went out and did a tow, and
What's a 47?
So a 47 is a 47-foot motor lifeboat. It's the Coast Guard's most capable asset as far as, higher extreme weather conditions, operating in 20-foot breaking surf, 30-foot seas.
Some of those videos that you guys sent me.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's nothing. You should see the videos that these guys sent me yesterday.
They used to have the 52s, but they're all decommissioned now, and the Coast Guard is working on building a new, larger surf platform. I don't think I'll ever see it. I'll probably retire before they come online.
That's awesome. Hey, Jeremy, if you go to the folder down here, or Finder, go to Finder, and then go to the mountainside on the left-hand side, and then go down to 251, and then go to raw B-roll, and just download it. We can look at some of your videos on here.
Yeah, I sent you all sorts of random stuff.
That little mini bike was sweet, dude. That's a sweet setup.
Yeah, so I bought that in Ketchikan.
Nice.
Because I wanted to use it to access some of the logging roads.
Don't go into Ross's folder. We're saving
Sitka.
that one for Ross's episode.
But yeah, I sent you some stuff too, of like the some of the boats I work on.
Yeah, that's right.
In Charleston.
Go to some of the high surf ones, Jeremy. Yeah, try that one.
This is just kind of heavy weather stuff. This isn't breaking surf. But
just kind of heavy weather.
Yeah, so just to give you a little bit of perspective, height of eye, there's 14 foot to the water line.
God.
And so you can see the people's heads on that other boat. Where their heads are, that's 14 feet. So you can see those swells are well over that. So cameras never really do it justice, but
yeah,
it's pretty cool, man. I kind of explain it to people like you're just like, just cruising over rolling hills on a boat. And I probably trust these guys a little bit too much, right? Because I'm not the boat driver, I'm not the boat operator, I'm the mechanic. So when we lose an engine and stuff like this, and in surf, I'm the one that has to unclip, go down into the engine room, figure out what the hell's going on, get shit back started, and then it's their job to get us into safe waters.
Is it detrimental when you lose a motor like that?
As long as you
sort of surf, or
no, I wouldn't say it's detrimental. It limits the maneuverability of the boat drastically, but it's not necessarily detrimental.
Okay.
It depends. Like if you're in the surf and say you end up getting knocked sideways, then that's a different story. Because obviously you don't want to take breaks on on the side of the boat, on the beam of the boat. So they try to take them nice, and they call it square, nice and straight. I'll let Ross elaborate on all that stuff later. But
I'm sure that you've been in some crazy situations, and this is a stupid question, but what's the craziest moment you've had in a boat? Like, have you ever had one capsize? Or
no, I've come close. So they have two different things. They have what's called a knockdown and what's a rollover. And a knockdown is when the boat goes beyond 90 degrees over. I've got very close to where I'm looking at the water and I feel like I could reach out and touch it, but it wasn't technically a knockdown because it didn't go past 90. It's funny because a lot of people think that the Coast Guard rolls them over on purpose. That's not the case at all. When it happens, it's extremely violent. Like it flattens chairs out.
I would think so.
It's an extreme amount of pressure. When I was in Bodega Bay, Golden Gate rolled a boat over while we were there, didn't they? Was it Morrow? I thought it was in the potato patch. But anyways, one of the boats south of us, they ended up rolling a boat over, and it crushed, it ripped the entire top of the boat off, ripped off the upper buoyancy chamber, flattened chairs. Like it's extremely violent. So I've actually had people argue with me. They're like, no, I've seen the Coast Guard do it on purpose. I'm like, I promise you didn't. No, because people go to the hospital when that happens.
Was it a Kevin Costner movie or something?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
No, that's wild. Had the movie Guardian come out before you enlisted? Yeah. Had you watched it, or did that play a part in it a little bit?
You know, it did cross my mind a little bit, maybe to go rescue swimmer, because I thought it would be cool.
It was Guardian, right? Was the name of that movie?
Yeah. And I've been, athletic my entire life, and I'm very comfortable in the water. I've been, I've free dove my entire life. And I thought that would be cool until I started training in a swimming pool, and I was like, man, this probably isn't for me. But,
a lot of time in the water, right?
Yeah, a lot of time recreationally in the water. But I never did, like, my school was so small. We didn't have a swim team. We didn't have water polo or anything like that, So I grew up free diving in the ocean, Pacific Ocean, and spent all summer, every summer, my entire childhood, either on the river, mostly the Eel River, or out on the lakes up there. And so I love the water, and growing up fishing out of Noyo River, I ended up getting stationed there actually. So it's kind of a full circle moment, like growing up and seeing those guys go out on those boats, and then getting stationed there for 4 years was pretty cool.
That's pretty rad.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not checking out the Mountainside podcast on YouTube, you absolutely should be. If you like the content that we create here and you want to help support the podcast, please take a moment, subscribe to us on YouTube, and hit that notification bell. In your Coast Guard career, are you guys just active duty all the time, or do you guys go on deployments? I mean, to Bahrain was probably like a deployment, right?
That was a deployment. Yeah, okay. that was a 12-month deployment. It depends on the unit that you're at. So so just to give you a little background, I've been to the River Tender, the patrol boat in Bahrain. I did 2 surf stations, which was these types of stations, and then I did a 225 in Alaska for 3 years, and then now I'm at another small boat station in Charleston, which the primary mission there is ports and waterways security and search and rescue, so law enforcement and search and rescue. So I haven't been to one of the units like the Marine Safety and Security teams that they essentially are a deployable law enforcement team, and then with the TACLETs, they are also deployable law enforcement teams. So, and then obviously the big boats, we got national security cutters that are 420 feet long, and they go out for months at a time. And then we've got other boats that are, mildly smaller than that.
There's so much, man.
But like I said, when I first joined the Coast Guard, I had no idea the Coast Guard had ships.
Right.
So it was kind of funny. I was like, man, all I knew is I didn't want to go on one of those. The 225 was bad enough, and that's a black hull, and all the black hulls in the Coast Guard they're basically construction boats. The
smaller the boat, the closer you get to stay to shore, right?
Yeah.
Somewhat.
I mean, more or less, yeah. I mean, that's true for the most part as far as like their endurance and how long they go out for. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the 225 was cool up in Alaska. Got to do a lot of cool hunts when I was up there, and the whole reason I moved up there was to get my residency so that I can hunt.
Northern Alaska?
I was in Southeast Alaska. I was in Sitka, Alaska.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Did you get to do any deer hunting out there?
Oh, I killed a ton of deer. Yeah.
Really?
And one
Blacktails?
Yeah, Sitka blacktail. And I actually got quite a few people their first deer ever up there. So I was taking guys out, and most of them I took them out like beach hunting and stuff in the fall when the snow would push a lot of the deer down. You find them on the beach, and those later season hunts, most of the time it was subsistence. So like a lot of the bucks already dropped horns and stuff like that. So it was just getting them out there and getting their first deer and getting them that meat and everything is pretty cool. But one of my friends,
that's super cool.
I took him on a couple hunts in California, and he ended up, I got him on this really, really nice buck, and he ended up missing it in California. And so he's like, hey, when you go to Alaska, he's like, I want to come up. So I was like, all right, well, you better train. You better get some damn good gear. So I gave him a workout routine, and he trained for a year for this hunt. And so he came out. We had some nasty weather that weekend. So, but we were like, I know a spot where we'll play the wind, and took the boat across the bay and into an inlet, and the anchor for my little 18-foot North River is for like a 34-foot boat, and I got a shit ton of chain on it, and And I just anchor it. I set it as hard as I could, back down on it super hard. And I'm like, well, hope it's there when we get back. Let's take the boat. So we spent 3 days on the mountain, and we packed up in there. He did good going up the mountain. He ended up getting blisters on his heels. And I was like, what shit, man? I thought you were training in your boots, you know? And he's like, I'll be all right. You know, we finally push up there, and we had one small little weather window where we started picking out deer and stuff, and he ended up making a great shot. I think the shot was around 300 yards.
The fog is gnarly.
It comes
there,
and goes.
Huh?
Oh yeah. With Alaska, you know, it's big, it's steep, but the most dangerous thing up there is the weather. It's super unpredictable, and then finding the animals typically isn't super hard. It's are they in a spot that you can shoot them and recover them, and are they still going to be there? Is the fog going to roll in? Is the rain going to roll in? But no, he did super good. We ended up getting him his first deer ever on a backcountry hunt in Alaska, and
That's awesome.
Yeah, we ended up packing it all the way back down to the boat, and the boat was still there. Of course.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
The photos from your Instagram page of the mountain goat are epic, man. Just because of that fog in the background, and they're such a cool animal, man. Like those things are incredible.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. You know, I wanted to do it because we had mountain goat there that was just a registration tag. So like I would get the tag for free basically with my hunting license there in Sitka as a resident. Yeah. So obviously I had to take advantage of that.
Yes.
And so I waited a year, and just after a year.
That's almost like a lifelong tag here in Colorado, I think.
Yeah. Like I think a lot of the states are once in a lifetime tags. I know Oregon is, and I believe Idaho is too. But yeah, I wanted to get my hand at it, and one of my friends that had retired out of the Coast Guard, he came up with me on that hunt, and we did, I think it was 6 or 7 days, and we flew into this high mountain lake, and we were spotting goats all around us, and it was a beautiful day when we flew in. And the next day it was just fog, and day after that fog. It was, and then my buddy Ryan ended up getting really sick. He had a pretty bad cold, so I took off up the mountain one day without him, and a little bit sketchy stuff there. You know, I learned that I should have brought crampons and an ice axe. So for my next goat hunts, I brought crampons and an ice axe, because some of those sheets that you have to cross up there on the snow, I mean, they can be pretty slick and pretty steep. And
yeah, man, a lot of guys died sheep and goat hunting. Like most of the hunters that perish in the backcountry is on a sheep or a goat hunt.
Yeah, there was somebody that died when I was on my next year's goat hunt. There was a hunter that fell like 700 feet and died the same week that I was out there. It was like two ranges over on the same island I was on, and that was obviously a big bummer. And it always gets
a good wake up call for
you,
though, right?
Yeah, it is for sure. And the crazy thing was, if I remember right on that one, his trekking poles were stuck like where he was, and they found him like 700 feet below that. So I don't know if he just like, you know, I don't remember exactly the details of the story, but
should have had a drifter hydration thing. He's probably sucking his.
I don't know if he just overexerted and then just
joking about that,
like, you know, fell. I don't know. It's crazy, man.
It's crazy, man, because you're pushing yourself to the limits, man. Like even here in Colorado, you know, like the weather can change so fast, and just on an elk hunt or something, like what you go through and where those animals are at, it can get gnarly, man.
Mm-hmm. And with me and my job, I work and live at sea level. So when I go do, you know, I'm not acclimated at 5,000 feet, you know, year round. So like I got to train extra hard because I know that I'm going to be, if I'm at 11,000 feet, not in Alaska, but like if I'm, you know, hunted Utah this last year, I was like, man, it's going to be interesting living at sea level, working at sea level. And then I know what I'm going into at 11 to 12,000 feet. And no, it was good this last year's hunt.
How much did it affect you?
You know, I think it felt a little more like I had to took a little bit more to get the blood flowing. And I had headaches when I'd wake up in the morning, but they would go away once I'd get blood flowing a little bit. And I'd take just one little ibuprofen just to take the edge off. And I was fine. I was super happy with how my body performed and everything. But I train year round because
hydration tablets too, or
no.
anything like that?
Well, I did. Yeah, just electrolytes.
Yeah.
Like I started making my own like energy supplements. Well, I take like all the ingredients and I just put what I want in there and put it all together and I'll still use all the different companies out there. I don't think I have a favorite out there. I use all of them. But yeah, no, it was we did about 7 to 8 miles a day which was too much.
Yeah, I'm lucky living here. I mean, this is 7,200 here at the studio.
Yeah.
So I do all my hiking and stuff around here. So like,
yeah.
When I go to sea level, I feel like a freaking
Oh,
animal, dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, my workouts, like my PRs, that's where I'm setting them all is when I'm traveling for work,
Oh yeah,
on the coast.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're getting that extra oxygen. You're getting what is it, like 17% more oxygen down there?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's wild. But it's always hard. I notice traveling too, like if I'm in San Francisco or something for 2 weeks and then I come back here, I'm like, oh my God, dude, it takes me like 3 days to kind of get back in the swing of stuff. So with not having much hunting experience as a kid, other than your dad filling the freezer and a little bit of butchering, what was the first hunt that you went on, and then how did you get into it? Was it just something that you wanted to do, or?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, growing up, like we killed varmints. We did predator hunting, off season, non-big game, pigs and coyote, rabbit, lots of rabbit, and then I did bird hunting too. So like I had hunted as a teenager, but I never did any. And I backpacked and lots of outdoors experience. Living off grid and not having all the necessities right there. It was kind of just like a little bit of a harder way of life. Like you wanted to be warm, you had to chop wood. Like you couldn't just turn the thermostat on. And the house, if we wanted to wash clothes, it was on a generator and stuff. But
you better keep that fire going before you go to bed, right? So you don't wake up freezing cold.
Yeah. So there was already, fortunately for me, outdoors experience, some hunting, quite a bit of gun stuff. And then when I joined the Coast Guard, I was moving around a lot. And when I got to Bodega Bay, I had just turned 21 and I got into long range shooting. I was like, I want to do this. So I like built a budget long range build. And one of my good friends, he ended up working with a guy who he married into a family that had a ranch there in Bodega. And he's like, yeah, do whatever you want, shoot. So I set up a 1,000-yard range there, and I'd go out there and
That's awesome.
and shoot. And then I started hand loading, and we were killing some coyotes and stuff every now and again out there. And so yeah, long range hunting, varmints and stuff like that. And then I was like, I'm just gonna start deer hunting. It was just like overnight. I'm just like, I'm just gonna do it. Just kind of putting together just some pretty basic stuff, just whatever I could afford at the time. As an E4, and I ended up transferring up to Noyo, and Ross had moved out to Oklahoma, and so we hadn't done any big game hunting. We did like a turkey hunt up in southern Oregon, and then but I started just hunting by myself. Like I didn't really I'd call Ross all the time, like, hey, what do you think about this? And he'd give me, we'd e-scout and stuff together. But he was out doing his thing, being with his family in Oklahoma, and it was a lot of trial and error. So a lot of time spent by myself. I dove into it, the backcountry thing, immediately by myself with no like big game experience at all. So it was just kind of taking all that other stuff and probably being a little overly confident in my abilities and just getting out there and getting after it. And then it kind of just Ross
kind of how you learn though, man. Like if you don't have anybody to show you, it's like, you got to learn animal behavior somehow, right?
And then I started shooting the bow immediately too. So as soon as I started, and I had a bow before. I bought this bow from a buddy in high school, and I'd use that, shoot whatever, and go bow fish with it. I had this like the bow fishing reel and everything. I'd convert it over for bow fishing. It was just kind of a do all thing. It wasn't like a super fancy bow or anything, and
bows have come a long ways.
Man. Yeah. And then
crazy.
when I bought my first new bow, that was obviously just for, deer hunting. So when I started big game hunting, I started with a bow and gun, because in California, if you archery hunt, you can hunt for an extra month. I think they're the earliest deer season in the country. They open like second week of July. So like I wanted to get out there.
Yeah. And then your tag just rolls over to a rifle tag, right?
It does,
like
yeah.
if you don't fill.
For California, it does, yeah. So I wanted to hunt that first season. So I bought a bow and I was like, hey, you know what? I treated it like scouting, right? But I have a tag and I have a weapon. I was like, I'm not very good with this thing yet, you know? So I was like getting out there and
smart.
So I would go scout heavy during archery season, have the bow on my back, get out there, find the animals, and then come back. If I didn't shoot anything, which I didn't for the first couple of years with the bow, and then go back with the rifle and go hunt, you know, those areas. And
that's smart.
So a couple years after that, I ended up doing another backcountry hunt, and one of my friends had kind of given me some information on some a range that he had hunted a little bit, or actually quite a bit, and kind of told me like a general area, and he helped me out and gave me some info, and he's like, yeah, man, have fun, you know, and I pack in there, set up camp. Next day, I hunt all day. I see like, after like 7 hours of hiking, I finally see my first deer, and then end up seeing a buck, and then I bump this really nice 4x4 blacktail and velvet. And
what year was this when you were starting?
Starting 2016.
Okay. So the podcast scene hadn't really exploded. Like there's so many guys that get information now, and I've learned a lot from listening to other podcasts on calling and just different. I mean, you can go down so many rabbit holes. There's so many awesome podcasts on hunting now.
Yeah, I dove in. I guess it was forums were the major source of information.
Like writing, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was 2000, what was it? I think it was 17 or 18 when I packed in on this hunt and ended up killing my first backcountry deer with a bow. And I ran out of water on that one. And I remember I got so dehydrated that I felt like I had like blisters in my throat the next day.
Really?
Yeah. So this was one of the very, you know, subconscious things. So I guess we can go back a little bit further than that. Like even backpacking, I hated camelbacks. I threw those away early on. I usually would just like pack a few water bottles, or I'd throw, you know, a Nalgene or two in my pack.
I'm going that way now. I just go with Nalgenes, and then I have the filtration system, and I do carry a bladder with me, but it's mainly to like carry water.
Yeah.
Or that's what I've done in the past.
Yeah. And with it being so damn hot, like in Northern California, it'll be at triple digits and super dry. So you end up going through a lot of water just to kind of, you know, keep the mouth wet essentially, because you dry out real bad. And so I already just didn't like the camelbacks because bladders have come a long way as far as like the films they use now. They have come a long way. But back then, you know, early 2000s, even when I started backpacking, I wouldn't even bother with them. I carried Nalgenes or just regular plastic water bottles. So it was just easiest. But the issue with that is I caught myself not drinking as much because it wasn't as accessible, or I'd run out and I wouldn't want to dig another bottle out of my pack or whatever. So on that hunt, I ended up running out of water, and there's a backpacking trail in there, and I'm packing out. I have the deer all broke down on my back, and there was these backpackers when I made my way back down the mountain, and they had a camp set up, and I was like, you guys have any extra water? And they're like, no, sorry. And I was like, all right, shit. I got another 2 miles back to my camp. So I just pushed through, and there was like one stream I'd come across, but all my stuff was buried. My filter was buried. I had a Sawyer with a little 16-ounce squeeze bag, you know, buried down in my pack. But I didn't want to undo all my straps. I had all the meat and everything on there. I was like, this is going to take forever. I'm exhausted.
Starting over again.
I was like, I'm pushing through. I'm getting back to camp. And I make it to camp and tear everything apart. And by this time, I think it's like 11 o'clock at night. And I filter a bunch of water. And I drink some, and I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to go for the truck. So I end up making it back to the truck at like 1:30 in the morning. And I call my buddy, and he was in disbelief because he's like, you know, he just gave me some info and sent me on my way on a solo archery backcountry, you know, hunt, and ended up killing a really nice, mature blacktail and velvet. And he was so jacked. He was so stoked, though. And
That's
I remember
rad.
going back to his house, and like the next morning, though, like it hurt to eat, hurt to drink, like just from being dehydrated on that. And then, so I obviously took some lessons learned from that and trying to incorporate my hydration system to keep it more accessible. And, but it never really, it still wasn't what I really wanted. I was still blowing out filter bags. You know, when platypus took off, like they were using a different type of film for their bags, which was, you know, that solved the taste problem. But I was still replacing them once a year, and I was still popping them and having issues with them in my pack. I still, you know, so that wasn't a complete fix there either. And when I started big game hunting, like Ross can tell you, like it was instant addiction, instant obsession. As soon as I got those first couple of years under my belt, I was like, where is this? Like everything I've done with my life kind of led to that.
Why is that?
Big game hunting. I have no idea. Not a clue. But like it's, you know, I'm a pretty spiritual person, and where I feel the most complete, where I feel the most whole is in the mountains. Just, I don't know, there's something so, you know, it's cliche to say, but there's something very, very primitive about it, about being in the mountains with a weapon, pursuing God's creatures. Like that's as humans, as an apex predator, that's what we're meant to do.
Yeah, we're part of the ecosystem.
We're meant to hunt for our food. And there's something primitive into that sense of pride of bringing it back to your family, you know, back to your tribe, back to your people, and butchering it, and then just the whole process of it.
To take it back
very, very,
full circle, exactly what we were talking about with our kids and like sharing those experiences, man. Like it's the same thing that I get out of it. I don't even have to kill anything. And just that time in the backcountry and the reset and what you see and what you experience, like, you know, I figured it out over the years. The ultimate trip for me would be like 20 days, right? With a base camp, and then going out for 3 or 4 days at a time or whatever, and going out of the bivy sack or whatever. But because of that, it takes me like 3 days to kind of get acclimated and get my senses right and get my mind right and get like, you're just focused on one thing. Like in my everyday life, you're multitasking, especially if you have kids. You're like, oh, I got to go here and then this, and then I'm going to do this and go here and do that. Out there, it's just one thing. There's no rhyme or reason to it. There's nothing that you can try to figure it out all that you want, but those animals are going to do whatever they want. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's the ultimate game of reset for me, I guess, really, and just what you experience and the adversity. And then it's also a good test for yourself too, man. Be like,
100%.
Yeah. How far can I push myself to the boundaries, or how bad do I want this, or when will I quit? Because I've quit before. I think everybody does backcountry
100%.
hunting. I don't care how badass you are, right?
No, looking back on it, you're like, man, I should have stayed. Like there's been multiple of those, and now looking back on it, it's those lessons that you're like, that you look at now when you're out there now, when you even get a feeling of that, you're like, maybe 10 years ago I would have called it, but you know, through success and like, and you know, when things actually do work out, you know that if you keep pushing, it can work out. But if you don't keep out there, you don't stay persistent, then obviously you're done. So there's actually a moment in my second goat hunt. I specifically remember the last day that it was like day 5, and me and my buddy look at each other and we're like, well, man, I think this is it. Like the weather hasn't given us anything for 5 days straight. We've had 40 yards of viz for 5 days straight. And I remember stopping at the top of this ridge before we dropped into the bowl and headed back down to our spike camp. And I stopped, and it was exactly that. It was that moment of, are we quitting? And I looked around, you know, at myself, and I just looked around and I was like, are you okay with this right now? Is this going to be one of those moments that you look back on and said, why did you quit? Why did you give up? And I had to make sure, and I do that on a lot of my hunts now, where when you know that you're done for that hunt, like I like to catch myself in that moment and say, are you okay with this? Are you going to look back at this and be okay with it? And because before, I think if you're having a really rough hunt where things just aren't going your way and you're just like, you find an excuse, you miss your kids, you miss your family, or things just aren't going your way. You didn't have a water source there. Something got destroyed, gear broke, or you forgot something, or whatever excuse you want to make up in your head because things aren't going your way and you want to go home.
They'll pop in there too, man. It's like the angel and devil on your shoulder, man. Really, it is.
Especially when you're by yourself.
Yeah.
Because
nobody's holding you accountable. Yeah,
man. And so like you were saying, I had plenty of those moments early on in when I first started hunting, where I was just like, I would go home a few hours early or a day or two early.
Right.
And now when I feel like going home, I'm like, is this that moment you're going to look back on and not be okay with?
Yeah, I used to get caught up in the time game too. Hey, Jeremy, sorry, can you check that door real quick? I think it might be open. We just deadbolt it. Yeah, I would get caught up in the time game. Like, I got to get this done so then I can get home and do this and do that. Mm-hmm. And like, that's how I hunted as a kid. I guess not as a kid. I was super fortunate that I didn't grow up with a dad, but I grew up with uncles that took me everywhere, man. Mm-hmm. And like, they were bow hunters and they were badass dudes and did it right and super ethical and taught me like all of that, and super clean when it came to field dressing, man. Like, really knew how to take care of meat, and that was the highest priority. And just like, I'm so fortunate I grew up that way, man.
Yeah.
But then later in life, it was just like, hunting wasn't like enjoyable for me, man. It was just like it was enjoyable, and it wasn't about killing anything, but it was about the success and getting the success done fast. I almost looked at it as a commodity. Like, cause I enjoyed eating the meat, but I didn't actually enjoy, like, I enjoyed being in nature, but I don't really like killing stuff. Like, it was more of like a food source.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I looked at it for a lot of years. And then, cause I was playing sports or I wanted to chase women, I had a bunch of other distractions, right? Like whatever it was. But then taking a long break from it, and I would come back periodically, when I was rock and roll touring, and it was mainly to be around families when it started to get back to that connection. I'd just done it so long since I was a kid and grown up, and that's exactly how we put. If we wanted meat in my household, growing up with a single mom, and she had 4 kids, that was the only way we had meat. And I was super lucky that some of the ranchers up here and stuff would give me like depredation tags or whatever, right? So that was awesome. So I guess I always just looked at it as a commodity until it was taken away from me. Not taken away from me, but I just had moved out of Colorado and it wasn't so accessible. Like growing up here, it was just like, it's hunting. That's what I recognized it as. But then I really appreciated it the more time that I got to intimately spend. And then I really enjoy the time by myself, man. I don't know about you, but I love going solo.
Oh, I do.
Like, no disrespect to anybody I hunt with. I love going with that too. Cause like the funny, you got to have a raw sense of humor, man. It's almost like you got to have a good partner that's going to give you some shit, and you got to be able to give them some back.
Oh yeah.
Cause you're going to suffer together. Right. Like, but I really love going solo because there's nobody to answer to. There's nobody holding you accountable. It's all on you. I mean, it's to equate it to like a high school sport or something. It's a lot like wrestling or something, right? And to come back unsuccessful really sucks too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Especially if you've gone for like 16 days or however long your
it
time
hurts.
allows.
And there's two different types of people. There's some people that are like, well, that's it. I'm done. And there's other people that are like, I want it even that much more. And like, that's, I think something we were talking about earlier is, when I started my big game hunting, it all just hit me so freaking hard. Like I spent every minute of free time I had in the woods, and most of it was solo. Cause I didn't have anybody that would go they would go hunting, but they kind of like road hunting and stuff like that, you know. But I didn't have anybody around that wanted to go hunt like I wanted to hunt out of a backpack, and I just
Get after
I
it, right?
loved that aspect of it, and I think it was kind of like a fast track of learning because A, I spent a ton of time in the woods. B, I was by myself, so like all the decisions were mine, all of the mistakes were mine. I didn't have anybody giving me any advice. It was I had to be so much more aware of everything I was doing. I wasn't just following someone through the woods. Like everything was on me to just figure it out.
You find yourself what you're about for
Oh,
sure
I love
out
that.
there.
I love it.
After that 3 days, you're like,
It's a mental reset, and
Yeah.
like coming home, and it's so like I feel so refreshed when I get home, and my wife knows that too. Like we met in 2014, and it was always, "You're going hunting again," and I was like, "Yep," and I just never stopped. You know, like even after we got married and we had kids, like things are more difficult, obviously, you know, to do that and to get that time, but she also sees how I am when I come back. And so like
you appreciate that pillow. You appreciate a warm shower. You appreciate a cooked meal.
well, she can just see
Yeah.
it like just on my face. Like
Yeah.
when I've had enough, she's like, I think you need to go get out for a couple of days. And so she's part of the reason why I was able to spend so much time out is because, you know, she'll take care of the kids. And even when we had our second boy, I went out on a hunt, and I mean, just a few days after he was born, and I was like, hey, I'm going to go to a trip to the grocery store up the mountain real quick. ended up killing a buck and packing them all back out and everything. And my wife is just stoked about it. And
That's huge, man. Cause there's a lot of divided households in September and October.
Yeah, I'm not saying there wasn't, you know, there hasn't been, you know, tension caused over it. There definitely is, especially.
Well, I think that, you know, everybody thinks, oh, you're going hunting, that you're going to hang out with your buddies, you know, and like drink beer and sit around the campfire. And some people do that, you know, but that's not the type of hunting I like to do.
No, Ross will tell you, like, I don't know, maybe I've been too serious about it, and maybe there's like, because there maybe like a chip on my shoulder or something like that, or making up for lost time or whatever it is. But when we've done our hunts, whether we went to Idaho or Oregon, like I have a lot of fun. I do, but I maybe take it too seriously, not too seriously, but like I'm you know, I'm there for a reason. I'm very focused and very dialed in. So.
I guess that's what I was trying to explain to you before, when I was like, it was just like going to the grocery store. Like when I go to the grocery store, I know what freaking aisles I'm going to. I only go to one or two grocery stores because I want to be in and out of there as fast as possible. It's like my least favorite thing I have to do. And thank God my wife does 99% of it. But it's like, it's like, if you ask me for something that I don't know what it is, dude, like it's frustrating, right?
My wife will send me to the store for milk, and I'll come home with milk, ice cream, and donuts every time.
Let's go.
I'm a sucker for a fresh donut and some ice cream.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it's crazy how much, like this year I didn't get to hunt, which I'm feeling like a serious void because I've gone consecutively for the last like 12 years without missing deer and elk, both archery season. And then I get another late tag for an archery. Well, we're hunting with bows. It's a rifle tag, but for another late season mule deer. And yeah, man, it's, what's crazy is having the podcast. I've learned so much. Like I've had a neurophysiologist be able to sit in your seat, and Doc Kate Pate, man, she's amazing. She helps a ton of guys with PTSD and transition. And then she's also helped, with some protocols to treat TBI on the battlefield. And like, there's like a golden hour in it and like all this sort of stuff. But a lot of her research has been done with outdoor therapy, and she does a lot in outdoor therapy. And, you know, she's like an Andrew Huberman that's dedicated her life to helping veterans transition or lobbying at Congress for the VA to prescribe, outdoor therapy is over SSRIs if it's a choice, right? Like there's a ton of like really amazing stuff that she's done. But having her sit in here, she's looked at the neuroscience that comes with just being outside in nature, and she's had to break it down so that she can then present it to Congress or do, her experiments. And there's a huge correlation with what happens in your brain with circadian rhythm and way beyond that, like the dust and bacteria that you're picking up from the trail and stuff that fires these different receptors in your brain that you don't get. Like that's why it feels so good to go for a walk outside and you feel better afterwards. It's like there's real science behind it. And then she's even broken it down to animal hides and the bacteria that you get off of that. There's a whole nother
that's crazy
feeling of, that primal feeling that you're talking about it's absolutely real. And she's got all the science behind it. So
yeah,
it's crazy. That's like those sort of things.
It's measurable.
You can't explain to somebody, but she can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It makes more sense. Cause I mean, like you have those, for me, it's probably similar for you too, but nothing can bring back a memory faster than a smell for me. It's like, you smell something, you're like, man, I don't know why, but that just took me back to 4 years old, a specific time in your life. And it's nothing connects faster than like smelling something and being, the different areas that you're in too have all the very specific smells to them, whether we're, hunting in Southern Oregon that has a very unique smell to it, or, Idaho, it all just has a very specific smell to it.
It's so crazy. To this day, I refuse to use Simple Green, the cleaner.
Oh, I know. I'm very, very familiar with Simple Green in the Coast Guard.
So as a young man, I was in high school and I had, if I wanted to do anything, if I wanted gas from my car, I had to work. So with playing football and playing sports, the only time I could work was like after dark or early in the morning. So I worked on a bison ranch, but they also had like a mortuary and a crematorium and it shared the barn where I had to go get the grain. And I never had to do anything with a body, and I kind of refused to, because I think the ranch owner like tested me a few times. He'd be like, hey, go down there and move so-and-so around or something. I'd be like, no, not doing it. That's not what I signed up for. I'll feed the bison. But they cleaned the place with Simple Green. So to this day, every time I walked in that bar, it just smelled like Simple Green in there. And like, if I spray it, I can't even take it anymore.
My first experience with Simple Green was...
How did we get on this subject, dude? All the badass shit that we could talk about. It's awesome.
I used to walk around with a bottle of Simple Green and a clipboard and just walk fast just so nobody would mess with me. Just try to look busy.
I'm cleaning up some death.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Once you start getting into this backcountry hunting and you're having the hydration issues, obviously that's where drifter hydration concept comes from.
Yep.
Where was Ross part of that? Because you guys were hunting partners, and you guys, is this like a campfire?
Kind of. It was more of like kitchen sink thing. We were out in Oklahoma. We were whitetail hunting. I think it was the second year out there whitetail hunting. And we're talking about, again, just like water and I was talking about probably one of my hunts that, I had a bladder fail on me or something like that, and the taste of it and all this stuff. And we're like, all right, well, let's come up with a solution for it. So we're like, let's go with a rigid system. Let's take all the advantages of like a Nalgene water bottle and the advantages of a bladder, and let's try to mix it all and see what we come up with. And then we're like, what'd be awesome is if we had a way to better transfer that water versus having to like, take your bladder out, hang it up, or trying to drop an elbow on it in your tent or blow into it, all that dumb stuff. We're like, let's put a pump on it, So we're like, all right, we put a pump on it. And then our original drawing was from 2017. We drew it up on graph paper.
Dude, we should have brought one in here. Pull up their website, Jeremy. Or their Instagram is good too.
Yeah, so we drew up the original drawing, and we just sat on it for a long time. We're like, surely somebody would come up with something like this. And we didn't actively, it was year after year after year after year. We're like, dude.
Did you guys like build your own to start, or?
Once,
So you had one for yourself, or?
no, so once we decided to actually try to find a manufacturer and figure out how the heck to build this thing, we started looking into like buying machines and like sourcing a bottle here and our tubing here and our mouthpieces here and our fittings. And we're like, we'll just put it together. And like, that was kind of how it all started. And this was 2022, I think it was. 2021 is when we late 21 is when we started digging into it. And it was 22. Yeah. Anyway, 22 is when we finally decided to dive into it. And so I did build a prototype. So I bought a 2-liter plastic water bottle, and I started buying all the tubes and pumps and to do the proof of concept. And one thing led to another, and we ended up finding a manufacturer based out of Bend, Oregon, and ended up being able to do pretty much all of our stuff. We only had to source a few different components from outside places. And we originally wanted to go with the Triton plastic to build the reservoir out of. But Triton...
Is that what Nalgene bottles are built out of?
Nalgene, Yeti, and Camelback Chew, or whatever those are called.
Okay.
And then our mini bottle we ended up doing, this is actually the very first mini mixer bottle we ever had made. So, and this thing's been torture tested, kind of melted and all beat up, but it's
That's number one, huh?
Number one, yeah. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, this when I first got this in my hands after prototyping this little guy, it was like, man, that's a $9,000 water bottle.
Don't want to lose that one, right?
Yeah, it was kind of strange. I was like, man,
my kids lose a Hydro Flask and I'm losing my mind. I'm like, I'm not giving you another $40.
Yeah. And here I am flying around with it, But so initially, before we even got to this, and I'll get to that in a minute and why that's cool, but we wanted to build the main reservoir out of Triton plastic because I was like, I want Nalgene type plastic. And we ended up finding out it's Triton. And turns out that plastic is way too hard and too brittle. So we ended up prototyping it with that plastic. And I mean, the first drop test, the whole thing exploded. And we're like, whoa, it was a huge gut punch. And it was like, dang, dude, we just spent 2 years prototyping tooling and doing all this stuff.
Just because of the size of it or something?
The size of it and the plastic. Like if you take a 32-ounce Nalgene, you fill it up with water and drop it on the sidewalk, it's going to explode. It's going to crack.
Okay. Because I've had pretty good luck. I beat the crap out of some of my Nalgenes, especially in the backcountry, like with some falls and stuff. And
yeah. It obviously depends on how it lands, if it's on a corner or if it's on solid rock or dirt or whatever.
Okay.
But that plastic is very hard. It's a very hard plastic. And so we were like, well, shoot, now what? We started coming up with different materials and, we ended up through some just basic resin testing, flexibility, taking temperature into consideration. We ended up landing on a product called Euplene. It's a high quality polypropylene. It's the same material they make like high quality baby bottles out of. So it's flexible. Perfect. It's very durable, very safe, good clean resin. And when I got the first prototype in my hands, I immediately filled the whole thing up full of water, lifted it up over my head and dropped it on concrete, and it just bounced off the ground. I was like, there we go. And then I torture tested it beyond that, over pressurizing it, jumping on it, running it over with my 4-wheeler. And that it just, blessing in disguise that we didn't end up just pulling the trigger on that type of plastic, because obviously it wouldn't have worked. There's
something about having something mold. Why am I not saying that? Something moldable in your backpack, right? Because when you start carrying quarters or something like that, like to have something that's malleable. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank God you're here. You start stuffing it with different stuff. So I think that's important.
Yeah. I mean, what's cool about it, and that's part of what makes it work, is with it being rigid. It is flexible, but it doesn't crush.
Right.
So when you have your entire bag full of all of your gear, you've got, a quarter on your back and all your straps super tight, you can still backfeed filter back into the reservoir because it's not being crushed by everything. So when, we're on, even if you have a day pack on, you still have all that meat. You still don't want to undo your straps to pull everything out of your bag, pull out your pump or your filter or whatever you have to refill your water. With this system, it just stays in your backpack, and it keeps you on the move because you just fill up a filtration bag, screw a filter in, and it all snaps in.
And then it's like a quick connect, right?
Yeah. And then you just hang it up, badass. Open the valves. And then on the air pump too, it's got that little bleed valve on it. So that allows for the air to escape as the water is draining.
So does it suck it through the filter then?
So it does kind of does that. It does both. So you have head pressure from all the water in your filter bag. And then since there's essentially, 3 feet of tubing that goes down into your pack, that couple feet, 3 feet creates a little siphon and pulls that water down through that filter too, right down in the reservoir. So even with everything super tight, all your gear in there, camp, whatever, all your straps super tight, you just fill up the bag, snap the filter and hang it up, and it gravity feeds right in your pack.
That's awesome.
And then you just disconnect it, throw it back in the lid, and you're back on the move. I
got a question for you, and this might be kind of a stupid question, but like with some of another reason why I went to an Nalgene bottle is I felt like it was more stealth because it's not as much water sloshing around like when you're trying to put the spot and stock on something. A lot of times I'm ditching my backpack at that point. I'm like, I'm going to go back and get it. But that sloshing drives me insane. With that pressure, does that cut down on some of it? Like,
so because it's a rigging container, you're not getting that loud sloshing sound, and with the shape of it doesn't slosh at all, especially when you're regular walking, even fast-paced walking, you don't hear it whatsoever. You'll actually get more noise out of an Nalgene on your hip a lot. Like it's like 3-4 times as loud with a Nalgene on your hip than you do with the
typically what I'm doing is packing my Nalgene bottle inside of my hoodie or something, like to muffle the sound. If I'm getting close to the animals, water's kind of my last concern.
Yeah. Well, so that actually is a good, way into this little bottle. So this little bottle actually has a lot of thought put into it. We designed it to fit in bear spray holsters. So you can put it right in your bino harness, right in the hip belt of your backpack. It's made out of Eastman's Triton, so it's good for hot liquids as well. So you can do instant coffee in it, bone broth, tea, and then obviously it's about a 2-inch opening, so it's easy to I like to drink my protein. I don't like to cook and do all that stuff in the morning. I've got a mixture of collagen and protein and some other stuff that I'll just pour in here, and then first thing in the morning, using the pressure from the system, I just fill it up real quick, and then I've got breakfast on the go. Or I'll fill it up with boiling water at night, throw it down the foot of my sleeping bag, and keep my feet warm when it's really cold. But when you are ditching your pack, like you said, you can easily throw this thing in a cargo pocket.
Because I run one of those bear spray things on the bottom of my marsupial rig.
Yeah, and just slide this thing in there.
That's freaking awesome. You
drop your pack, and you're sitting there for a couple hours waiting for the dang animal to stand up. Well, at least you got some water on you. Yeah. So a lot of thought went into this tiny little water bottle.
That's rad. Yeah, that's like the perfect size for that.
And with the system being pressurized, you don't need a big giant water bottle because most hydration and energy supplements out there call for 12 to 16 ounces of water. So it's 16 ounce total, but it's got 14 up here at the top, and very, very easy to read gauge here. So we actually use this because at nighttime, you can't read the dang lines inside in the cook stove. Usually they're you
trying to look in there with a headlamp.
Is that a 6 or an 8 or what the deal is? So we put just a really easy to read gauge on here. We can fill it up. Hit boom, 5 ounces, pour that into your peak fuel meal or, whatever.
Pressurized, fill it up too. That's, it's really freaking cool. Yeah. I'm so glad you grabbed me out of the aisle.
Yeah.
I think because you guys are cool guys sitting here. I think after listening to an hour and 30 minutes, of you, I think people are getting that vibe. And the product is freaking awesome. So, explain what you're doing here in Colorado. I met you in Utah at Western Hunt Fest?
Western Hunting and Conservation Expo.
Okay, Expo. Yeah. And this one that you guys are attending here and what brought you to Colorado was the mountainside. And then, well, today anyways. Yeah. And then this episode will air, because when do you guys start building your booth? Tomorrow?
I think we'll do a little bit tomorrow, and
Okay.
then we'll finish it up on Thursday.
Yeah, you guys have like a waterfall in your booth and all.
Yeah, we got a
kinds
little
of-
fountain, you know.
Yes.
The kid, that's a
awesome.
kid magnet, man. Like
Yeah.
all the kids, they all come in there, and then I usually be like, "Hey, Dad, you seen this before?"
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. No,
So yeah, I think that this episode will come out Friday or Saturday.
Cool.
So do you guys have your booth number?
I think Ross has
Lined
it.
up?
Yeah, he's definitely.
Okay. Yeah. We'll definitely drop that. If you're attending Mile High Hunt Expo, definitely swing by, check these guys out, man. Like I can't wait to get my hands on one and use one this year. So I need to pony up. And what's the best way to purchase one of these things? Is it directly from you guys?
It's directly from us. So we've got a couple smaller mom and pop shops that are carrying a couple units right now, but we're essentially direct to consumer. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I can't wait to have this in my pack. I'm gonna actually pull the trigger and buy one tomorrow. Because
This seems too cheap.
Yeah, we've been told that, but we also wanted to be competitive with what's out there, as far as, you know.
Dude, I thought it was super affordable when I was doing my homework,
I
and I
went through the website and I'm like, dude, this is like
well, you should have one in your car, just in case.
just in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a couple of different filter options too. So for our, backcountry system that we run, we like to run the Catadine B-free filter. It screws right into our transporter
Those
water
are
bag.
awesome, yeah.
Yeah, we use that for the backcountry stuff. And then the other filter, it uses a media called the Disruptor media, and it removes a ton of stuff. And that's really good for, if you're traveling, filtering out like in a hotel room or campground spigots. Like I use that when I'm car camping. But yeah, with the Catadine filter, it's such a solid filter. We've had really good luck with that, and we're able to filter.
I might start traveling with it because going to hotels and stuff, man, I'm a water nerd, dude. I never drink out of the tap water.
No.
This would save me so much time going to gas stations to buy freaking water bottles. So
Yeah.
I have them, or paying $9 for a Fiji bottle, a liter of water.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's twice as much as gas is right now.
And what I'll do too is the Traveler filter, you can actually hook it up inside the reservoir. So we add it.
Nice.
We have another tube on there, so you can fill the 2.5 liter rigid reservoir in the sink, and then the filter just lowers right down in there, and then it uses the pressure on the air pump to force that dirty water through the filter, and then so you just got clean filtered water on tap. So I do that in my vehicle. Like if I'm going to stop and fill it up, and I'll just pressurize it, and I can keep my bottle full of filtered water on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to mention, man, the pressure. There's been so many times I've been at high altitude where I'm dumping water on my head just a little bit for a little bit of relief if it's 90 degrees or something, because we'll get freak weather like that here in September too, where it's stupidly hot and then it'll snow the next day.
Yeah. And we put a cool feature on our mouthpiece too, where if you turn it counterclockwise, it opens up completely. So you don't have to pinch or bite to drink. You just open the valve, and so you don't even have to bite it or to fill your bottles.
Yeah, because I hate that too.
Yep. Yeah. And, like this little guy was one thing that we added on. It's just a tether for the mouthpiece. We only had 2 people lose a mouthpiece, and that was enough for me. I was like, I got to come up with a fix for it now. So I did that.
Is that aluminum?
Yeah, that's a 100-pound monofilament with aluminum crimps. So you're not losing that.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, basically, and that's what's cool about, it's just me and Ross. Like we are a 2-person company, and it's funny when
That's amazing.
Yeah, we do everything. I tell, we call Ross the CEO because he's I don't want that responsibility. I just want to design the products and get them out and use them and make some videos and I guess we both kind of say that I'm like the creative mind behind it, and Ross is like the machine behind all of the logistics and everything that just makes the company work. And sometimes I feel bad because I feel like I get to do all the fun stuff, and he does a lot more of the stuff that I really don't want to do. But
Ross, you're number 2. You'll be on next, buddy.
we make a good.
You need another whiskey? Okay.
No, we make a great team because our strengths are completely different.
You guys are awesome, man. I ended up spending an hour at your booth just BSing about life and stuff. We could have recorded that conversation, man. It was super cool. The product's freaking amazing. And I love to see you guys crushing it, man. So, like, you guys aren't a sponsor of the podcast or anything. This is just an incredible freaking product. And every backcountry person should have one of these, whether they're long distance runner or hiker or just everyday person, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the whole reason we built it is because we wanted one. We figured other people would too, you know?
Yeah.
So like, and it's been pretty cool because I've got several friends that are in wildland firefighting, and they're like, Joe, I didn't buy this because it's yours. He's like, you're actually helping the guys out here. Like, and that was like, you know, I guess I knew that, but I hadn't heard it before until he said it out loud. Is like something that I made that you know, we came up with.
Yeah.
That we came up with a product and brought it to market, and like it's actually helping people out there is pretty dang cool, and it's pretty rewarding to hear that.
Well, it's the number one thing you need out there, man.
It's overlooked.
It's way overlooked.
I think,
and the trouble that I've had with it, because like if that happened, if your water bladder pops and you're 6 miles deep or something, that's your only. You better have a backup.
Hopefully, you've got some filter bags and a water bottle. You know, we did put quite a few fail safes in this, like this cap. Say you had like a catastrophic failure with tubes or whatever. This cap is actually the same thread as the main reservoir. So worst case scenario, well, now you just have a 2.5 liter water bottle. We haven't had to do that. We haven't had anybody that had to do that yet, but we did that on purpose where this cap will go right on the top of that big reservoir.
That's super smart, man.
And then obviously I always carry 2 of the white, the soft bag there. I write dirty on one. Yeah, those there. I write dirty on one. I write clean on the other. And then with those 2 full and the reservoir full, I can carry 7.5 liters of water. And obviously they're super lightweight too. They're only a couple ounces each. So you can throw as many of those in your pack as you want. If you're hunting high country where there's no water and you got to carry 10 plus liters of water, you just add as many water.
It's a lot of spots in Colorado, man. There's very little water.
Yeah. Northern California was the same way. Is like you'd have to drop down, 1,500 plus feet just to find a seep or a spring or something like that. And
this year's been rough. We're down like, what's the snowpack down? Like 70, 80%? Look that up real quick.
We were talking about that. It was like,
it's going to be bad.
On our way in.
Yeah.
The snow is, it's crazy how little there is.
Get a wildland firefighter contract for Drifter.
If you know anybody.
I do actually. Yeah. I've tried to give the wildland guys a little bit of a voice here because I just feel like they're underlooked and underappreciated in the firefighting community. So. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
That's not good.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, more than 64% of the state. And the thing about it too is it affects a ton of other states, like California being one of them. Like, there's so many states that rely on Colorado for water coming off that divide. I don't know, man. I was hoping we were going to get some snow this spring, but we haven't gotten shit.
Well, hopefully you guys get at least some late season rain and some more water.
Yeah, that snowpack is crucial though, because the rain would almost be worse because it'll melt what snow's there. And so it affects fly fishing and everybody.
Obviously the snow keeps
down 69% in most of the state, looks like, which is crazy. So did we find the booth number? Is it 435? All right, cool. And the show is Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, dude, this is insane.
We're in so much trouble, dude.
I've never seen it like this.
It's supposed to get pretty hot too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Next few days.
Yeah.
It's going to be in the 70s.
I mean, it snowed here 2 days ago, and it's gone. It's wild. Normally, sometimes we still have ice on the lake up here, too, and that melted super early.
The little one right over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was looking in that.
Yeah.
Well, being out in South Carolina the last few years, it's like I miss trout fishing,
Yeah.
I miss all the way. Like when you were saying you didn't get a chance to hunt this year. I was like, I feel that because I've been able to hunt in South Carolina, but it's the low country, it's the swamp, it's
the mountains are different, right?
It's different.
Yeah.
It's not the same. And it's been a good lesson learned for me. I think it's been really good for my boys. It's the holy city. So my wife teaches at a church and
Okay.
And so my boys, it's given them a pretty cool foundation in their own spirituality.
How old are they?
3 and 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Those are good ages.
yeah. So it's been good for the family, but for me personally, like I'm missing a lot there. It's not for me. But I am moving to Oregon in June. So
Oh, nice.
pretty stoked about that. Yeah, I'm actually going
You
back
getting
to
stationed there? Or?
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
up in Tillamook. So I'll be at the lifeboat station again, doing the surf stuff again.
Awesome.
So I'm excited to do that. As long as my body allows me to keep doing that. It can be pretty rough on the knees and pretty rough on the back, but
Yeah.
no, I think it'll be good. My boys, they've been able to get out and go whitetail hunting with me out there.
Oh, that's cool.
I got my oldest son. This is like the smallest climbing harness I could find, like full harness. And I'll just clip him onto a line and I'll get everything all set up and I'll just hoist him up into the tree and then clip him in.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool to see.
They
him.
must love that.
Oh,
Huh?
he loves it. Yeah. I took my oldest when he was 3. I took him on his first hunt. I just brought him out in a blind. We went out in public land. I've done all public land stuff out there, like mostly with my bow, just because it's nice to do the archery only WMAs out there because there's a lot less people.
Right.
It's been fun. Just a different style of hunting. We had a cold weather system come through last year where it was like 34 degrees and pretty dang windy and I was bundled up and I had hand warmers in all my pockets, but man,
It's a different type of cold,
it's
too.
different when you're used to that warm weather and you're sitting in a dang tree stand, or I've been saddle hunting out there a lot, and saddles catch a lot of flack, but they're pretty mobile and they're lightweight. But it was pretty brutal climbing out of the tree. It's like I could barely.
It's not for me,
move.
man. I want to go chase elk.
Yeah,
I want to go put the spot and stock on muleys and.
It's tough.
Stuff,
That's tough for me too, is because
Yeah.
like I don't want to sit in the dang tree all day. I want to get out and cover ground and get out and be able to see the big country and everything. But being right on the coast there, it's basically just super flat swampland, and I made the most out of it while I was there. But I'm beyond
That's awesome,
ready to
man.
get back out west.
Yeah. What else do you guys got going on with Drifter? Anything else you want to drop before we wrap this up? We're coming up on time here.
No, we've got a lot of ideas that we're wanting to push, that we're excited. Hopefully we'll be able to touch base with you maybe next time we talk and hopefully be in a position where we can maybe do some type of product reveal or give you a little more information. But
Dude, you guys always have a platform here, and I was telling you before we hit record, you didn't know signing up for this one time means that you have to come back like once a year, you or Ross, right?
Yeah.
So well, definitely. You guys are welcome here anytime. I'm a fan of the product. Like I don't get behind anything that I don't believe in or plug it. Like all of our sponsors are all products that I use, like including Sabo and all that sort of stuff. It's all just badass stuff. So, and sponsor or not, man, Drifter is the best thing I've ever seen in hydration. For
Appreciate
sure.
that.
I'm excited to run it this year. I'm actually gonna hop on and buy something this weekend because I have my 3D archery season is coming up.
Okay.
Hard and heavy, man. And it's the next time you guys come, bring your bows.
Yeah.
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 I think I was telling you about American Bowman. It's freaking awesome. Yeah. So
I
we'll
wish we
do
had
that.
some more time.
Yeah.
I was definitely.
Well, bring
wanting
the
to-
family out or something, man.
Yeah.
There's so much to do here. So
Well, next year I'll be living in Oregon, so I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we'll obviously try to be at the show for sure.
Yeah.
So we come out a few days early and
come a
meet
few
up.
days early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for making the trip.
Yeah.
Coming in a day early to come and do this. This was rad. I was stoked to have you guys in. If you're listening to this, you can open the show notes right now. There'll be links to Drifter Hydration's Instagram, their website, booth 435 at Hunt and Fish or Mile High Hunt and Fish Expo. Is that what it's called? Okay. It's at the National Western Complex. Go check that out. Your personal Instagram?
Yeah, is just Joe Gauvain.
Okay.
And then, but I do more of my hunting stuff through Decisive Outdoors.
Yeah, that's an awesome page too. Go give all three of these a follow. Check them out. This will all be in the show notes. And yeah, if you're a backcountry person, or shit, man, if you just want to keep one of these in your car for an emergency, man, you never know. Yeah, it's an awesome product. Go check it out. Drifter Hydration. Joe, thank you so much,
Thanks,
man.
Bobby.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Next time you come in, we'll do a little deeper dive on some hunting trips or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Jeremy. Take us away. Thanks for listening to the Mountainside Podcast. If you haven't had a chance to do this already, please take a moment, follow, like, subscribe, or rate on whatever platform you catch the Mountainside Podcast at. If you'd like some more information on upcoming episodes, safety tips, access to all of our affiliates, and all the badass discounts that we get here at the Mountainside Podcast, check out themountainsidepodcast.com.